Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. This is your host, Anthony King, and this week I'm going to share some stories celebrating the release of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which is celebrating its 5th anniversary this past week. Before we get started, I'm inviting you to join the conversation with us. We can be found on Twitter at Force Ghost Pod. You can follow our page on Facebook, and hot off the presses, you can even follow us now on Instagram at Force Ghost Conversations, all one word. We look forward to connecting with you on those platforms. Also, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your listening site of choice. And without further ado, it is time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost Conversations. Okay, everyone, welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations. And as I alluded to in the preamble, this episode will all be about celebrating the 5th year anniversary of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which was released in theaters, of course, 5 years ago this past week on December 16th, 2016, at least here in the United States. I'm going to share some fun stories about the lead up to that movie and the fun, quirky things that I did to get excited for the movie, just the weird occurrences that happened to me leading up to it. I think it'll be fun for the listeners at home to experience all of this again, at least from my perspective. So I hope you all enjoy it, and I hope you're all able to bring some of your own memories into it, and I'd be so happy to hear those on our social platforms, which I alluded to again in the preamble about. Just as also a fun thing, just to re-highlight again, we're on Instagram now. Follow us on Instagram at Force Ghost Conversations, which is all one word, as we've been sharing some fun pictures here and there about Star Wars, and just opening up the conversation for an even wider audience to interact with Force Ghost Conversations. So if you can, give us a follow over there. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing that. As you probably know, if you've been a listener to the show up to this point, it is time to start off the show with the segment that I officially have called Cloud City Gossip, aka our Star Wars news segment. So all the things that are happening in a galaxy far, far away, right here on Earth, that is has been announced this past week. So to start, I wanted to share the awesome news that Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, has now been added to the National Film Registry. It joins the other two previously inducted installments of the original trilogy, aka Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, and Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, and will be preserved for posterity. So congrats to Lucasfilm and everyone involved with the making of that classic film. It is truly an astounding achievement to be inducted into that Ring of Honor. So the next, Marvel Comics actually just announced a new monthly comic book series called Han Solo and Chewbacca. And as you may have guessed from the name of the comic itself, it will follow the lovable smuggler Han Solo and his trusty companion Chewbacca as they team up with their pal Greedo, which we all know how that eventually turns out in A New Hope, as they complete jobs for Jabba the Hutt. Pun intended, I guess. The series will hit your local comic shops this coming March and is written by Mark Guggenheim and penciled by David Messina. And it is set to take place a few years before the events of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, for those keeping tabs on the canon timeline at home. And although this episode of Force Ghost Conversations will be talking extensively about my journey to seeing Rogue One, a Star Wars story, StarWars.com actually released a new extensive interview with the director of the film, Gareth Edwards, kind of getting more of his thoughts and retrospective viewpoint on the film and its making. And having read the article, I can confirm that it is full of great insights and banter. You can read the full interview for yourself on StarWars.com if you are interested, and again, I'm going to highly recommend it. Finally then, January, which is 1 month, not even a month from now, it's almost 2 weeks at this point, it will finally mark the 1-year anniversary of the release of Light of the Jedi and A Test of Courage, aka the opening text of the High Republic era, and beginning this new timeline for Star Wars storytelling. As Claudia Gray's The Fallen Star approaches for release, Lucasfilm will be releasing a special episode of the High Republic show on YouTube, which will feature interviews with the creatives and provide some news and insights about Phase 2 for the series. So if you're a big fan of the High Republic, be sure to tune in on, I believe it's January 4th, for that show. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of news, announcements, and just insightful pieces into the making of the High Republic era that is so fascinating to me. And if you're a fan of all this, I'm sure you would enjoy that. So be sure to check that out, and I will be thrilled to to wonder what we all think about the upcoming announcements as they come out. So it'll be really interesting to see. I'm very excited for Phase 2. I am slowly trudging my way through the previous High Republic stuff. I'm on Out of the Shadows right now. I've just finished Race to Crash Point Tower, the Rising, not the Rising Star, but the Rising Storm. And those have been wonderful additions to the High Republic canon. So it's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of great things to look forward to in Phase 2. And with that, we are now on to our main topic for today, ladies and gentlemen, celebrating the 5-year release of Rogue One, a Star Wars story in the cinema. So what is this movie? This movie means the world to me as a Star Wars fan. It was a massive gamble by Lucasfilm that paid off tremendously. It showcased that Star Wars could go beyond the traditional Star Wars saga, episodes 1 through 7 at that point when it was released, and now, as we know, episodes 1 through 9, and highlighted the importance of diverse storytelling to keep Star Wars fresh and unique while still honoring the legacy that George Lucas had set. But however, at this point, I don't really want to share my thoughts of the film overall within this episode. Although you can probably guess that I am a massive fan of this movie. I put it on all the time. I love watching it. I still feel the same feelings I did that December evening in 2016 when I watched it for the first time. And I want to share the lead up to this watching this movie. I want to talk about my journey to seeing this, as I believe there are some fun stories to be shared. And I hope you have similar experiences at home too, especially if you're knee deep in all the Star Wars stuff like I am, and was especially at this time because this was such a fresh and unique thing, still coming off the heels of The Force Awakens, right? We are still like, what is the Lucasfilm Disney partnership like? What is it going to be with all these new directors telling their take on the Star Wars story? Especially with a movie being so close timeline wise to Episode 4, A New Hope, right? What is it going to do in terms of how it respects the original trilogy? How does it respect the prequel films? That was a big concern I had going into this because I saw a ton of articles online being like, this is the prequel film I've always wanted. And as a person that unabashedly loves episodes 1, 2, and 3, I was like, I've already gotten the prequel films that I love. So there was just a lot writing into this movie that it was quite an interesting time for Star Wars, and I put all my trust into Lucasfilm after seeing The Force Awakens and Disney. So let's just I think that's an appropriate place to start for this journey. Really, is December 2015. Of course, The Force Awakens comes out, and I think there were, of course, some people in the cinema when I saw my first night screening that stayed through the end of the credits because, of course, when Lucasfilm was purchased by Disney, Disney also owns the Marvel Studios, and they're well known for their teasing of the upcoming movies through post-credit scenes, and that was the original theory at the time was, are they going to show like a teaser for Rogue One, which was at that point would be coming out the following year, and that following December. Are they going to show a little bit of news about it? Because at that point, I believe we only had like a little teaser trailer from Celebration, which was just Alec Guinness talking over like a motion picture, not even like a motion, literally a motion picture of just like the Death Star just appearing as a huge planet almost with just some tech talking in the background. I think they might have revealed the Rogue One title or something like that. So a little bit of nuggets like that, and I believe there was a picture of like the crew, like Jen Erso, Cassian Andor, Baze Malbus, you name it, like just the crew just sitting about in like a cargo bay or something like that. So there's really a little next to nothing that came to like what the movie was about. And I think there were just some tidbits, just like some basic story, like it's about going to be about the band of spies that are going to steal the Death Star plans that'll eventually become very important in Episode 4, A New Hope. So we literally had nothing at the end of The Force Awakens. But again, I came out of that film absolutely loving The Force Awakens. All of my trepidations leading into that film were wiped away entirely. Full trust into the Lucasfilm Disney team and the creative staffs involved in putting together this tale. And I knew they would do it with respect, dignity, trust. So I definitely left The Force Awakens in 2015 vastly looking forward to what was coming the following year. But of course, there was nothing for quite some time there. As far as I can remember, they're leading up to the big trailer release, like the big reveal in April of 2016. There really wasn't a whole lot on that news front, and of course, I know they're behind the scenes things. So if you really want to like look up, there were of course the rumors of reshoots and all that. I, you know, I'm not here to speculate on all that. I wasn't there. I'm every film has reshoots, so take it with a grain of salt. I don't know how extensive they were. How every film has this behind the scenes, and I love for the film that was put out in cinemas. Um, so letting that be. We get to eventually in April of 2016. We get to the eventual trailer release, and it was announced that it was going to be on Good Morning America. I believe it was a Wednesday that it came out, or when it was either Wednesday or Thursday. I think it might have been it was definitely a Wednesday. Yeah, because that was the day that I did my internship at the local sheriff's office in Frederick County, where I went to school. Of course, I was a college student at the time, and I was pretty much a senior. Yeah, I was pretty much a senior in college at this point, and uh, I had a actual 9 to 5 job every Wednesday where I would go and be an archivist for the local sheriff's office. I studied history in my undergrad program, and I learned how to do archival work and museum studies. And what they had me do at the sheriff's office was basically create a historical archive and database for them, which I was happy to oblige to do. I love doing that. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience for me and a wonderful internship, and I really appreciated all the stuff that they did for me there. So I would have to be at the office by 9, and I remember I don't know when Good Morning America starts. So when they announced that Good Morning America will be like the release of the trailer, like that would be when the big reveal was coming, or it was going to be live during the show. I set my alarm for like 6 o'clock because I couldn't tell if that was when Good Morning America started or whatnot. And of course, I woke up, turned on the TV. So of course, we had cable at our college. Thankfully, you just hook it up to the running cable outlet that's in the dorm room. Right, I had a single dorm room for myself there at this point, so I didn't have to bother waking anyone else up. I plugged it in, turned on the TV, and of course, Good Morning America didn't start yet. I probably should have done some more research and all that. I probably could have been told that Good Morning America starts at 7. But I was just so excited as a fan. I wanted to experience it all in the moment. I wanted to be there. That I literally couldn't sleep leading up to this because there was so much that I was looking forward to seeing within this trailer itself. Now, of course, uh, I went back to sleep when I realized that it wasn't coming on until 7. I wasn't going to watch the local DC news for a bit there. So eventually 7 o'clock rolls around. I wake up again, and they have like a little, like a ticker clock at the calendar not on the calendar, but on the bottom of the screen. It's like 45 minutes till the release of the trailer. So it's like, oh, great. I'm gonna doze off for another 30 minutes here, right? And finally, 7:45 eventually rolls around, and my mind is blown away by that initial trailer. There's so many Easter eggs, fun little nuggets, nods to the original trilogy, nods to the prequel trilogy, and just an era of Star Wars that was vastly unexplored up to that point. I know we only just had Star Wars Rebels and some books in the canon, but that exploratory era between episodes 3 and 4 is just so ripe for storytelling in Star Wars, and I'm so thrilled that we're able to kind of just explore that now. But right, 2016 was a different time, folks. We didn't have a whole lot then. But as I digress, we now have this big trailer. I think it was like 3 minutes long or 2.5 or something like that. It literally played with every movie up to that point afterwards. I went to the cinemas a lot that year. Of course, Batman v Superman came out that March, so I was watching. I think when they released the trailer, it was then eventually packed on for subsequent movies. So like BVS then got like a re-update. So I saw that movie a few times in the theater. That got the re-update with the trailer. I think X-Men Apocalypse later came out that year, and I of course saw that, and it included that trailer. I believe that Captain America Civil War also came out that summer. And of course, the Disney property also had, of course, the tie-ins to other Disney films in the trailers that would make sense marketing-wise. Why not? So there's just a ton of speculation. I remember when the trailer came out, that's all I talked about all day. I did my internship, and my friends just continued to text me during the time about what were my thoughts and speculations. Right, I was known as the Star Wars guy. I'm still known as the Star Wars guy amongst my friend group. They're gonna ask me my thoughts on it. What did they think? What did they notice about it? And that was just a fun day of conversation with everybody. I remember getting back to the dining hall for dinner that evening, and I was probably the most popular person at the dinner table that evening. I usually would sit by myself at dinner, but then I had people wanting to sit by me. I had my friends Daniel and Sophie that were, asking me about what did I think about the trailer. That was a lot of fun, getting to geek out with them and just to experience it overall. So I would say this after April of 2016, we then had this era that I would like to kind of call the Speculation Galore Era, where again we didn't really have a whole lot besides that trailer. It was just a lot to dive into, but there weren't answers coming. The only way that we got answers, and this is a little bit of more answers, but in a way no answers at all, was later that I believe it was either July or August. That was when Star Wars Celebration Europe took place. I believe it was in London. They had, of course, did the panel. The big panel of that celebration was, of course, for Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And people wanted to know what's going on with this movie. What's happening? What are the details? Who are these characters? We don't know a whole lot. Who's Jyn Erso? Right? Is that Saw Gerrera there? So cool to see them in tying in this Clone Wars era character, making him live action, and getting the great Forrest Whitaker to play him. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. But, I want to know more about the production of the film. I want to know more about the cast and the characters and what it means for Star Wars overall. Those are the things that make me very excited as a fan, and these are the details that you get at a celebration panel. And of course, it's not like they released a whole nother trailer at this panel, but you got behind the scenes sizzle, and you got some insights into the filming process, and they're so close to the release of the film though that they're not going to give away any major spoilers or anything like that. They're not going to do that, guys. They're just going to have fun with it. They're going to tell you about a little bit about their characters, and that the marketing team has really set out their talking points leading up to that. I think we got the reveal of director Krennic at this event, and it's cool seeing Ben Mendelsohn walk out in his trusty cape. At that point, I know the cape has been a big point of love for the Star Wars fans that get to watch the Rogue One Director Krennic it's a great villain for Star Wars overall. It's so unique in that regard. But I think also Baze Malbus, the actor, unfortunately, I don't know his name off the top of my head. Uh, I believe, pretty sure he kind of spoiled that he died in the movie at that panel, but that's neither here nor there. We're gonna let it slide. Um, yeah, that was an interesting time. Again, we got a sizzle reel. So a bit more of that. I think they gave away some a bit of the publishing initiative leading into it. So the tie-in novel Catalyst was eventually coming out by James Luceno, which is a wonderful Star Wars book. Go check that out. It really helps flesh out the Rogue One universe in a way. Um, and that's the very exciting thing leading up to that. So then, if I recall, of course, I go back to school. Um, I believe there was another trailer around the Thanksgiving time, and I think there was like a little teaser that Thanksgiving Day and then Black Friday they released a whole new trailer, which was kind of like the big story trailer. You got a little reveal of Vader, um, and that was a wonderful trailer. But the big thing about that trailer though is that they announced that tickets are going on sale Monday. And of course, this was 2016, ladies and gentlemen. So there was a big difference between how we order tickets in 2016 and how we order tickets now. Especially, particularly for me. I came from a family that doesn't really like online shopping, and they still don't really like online shopping. So they kind of instilled that in me. I've gotten over that since. But, the best way to really get your ticket for a thing sometimes is to just go right straight to the movie theater. I remember tickets were going on sale that Monday, and I completely did not recognize that Monday meant 12:01 a.m. that Monday, if not even before. So people were online already buying up tickets. When I go to see a Star Wars film, I like, at least for the first time, I like going to the first showing no matter what, whether it be a fan event that Thursday. First off, it's a Thursday showing, it's not even the Friday, so I go to the Thursday early screenings. Typically, it's a Thursday of some sort. Usually, it's the most premium experience you can imagine: an IMAX 3D, an RPX 3D fan event experience where they give you some posters, some pins, something, what have you. Typically, that's kind of how I experience a Star Wars the first time. It's pretty much in the most extravagant, extreme way possible because that's they want to make their money on it. And where I was going to school in Frederick, Maryland, they had of course, they have a Regal. I love Regal Cinemas. I've talked about it extensively on a previous podcast before. Went to see the Regal here. They have an IMAX theater, and I didn't know ahead of time that the first showing was a 7 o'clock IMAX 3D showing of Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. So that you can't be spoiled to a movie if you see it first. That's my approach to it, right? So I will go ahead, pay the whatever amount it takes in order to see it first. You can't be spoiled to it if you see it first, right? So I made the plan. I believe I had a class from 9 to 10:30 on Mondays, or yeah, I had a class from 9 to 10:30. So I got out of my 10:30 class, and my plan was to drive to the cinema because I don't think I had any other classes that Monday, or maybe if I did, it was later in the afternoon or evening. So I made a plan. I will drive to the movie theater. I will just buy the tickets right there at the box office, and that will be the be all end all. And when I eventually got there, or not even before leaving, I left the student center to head back to where my car was, and I ran into my buddy Daniel. And I know I wasn't gonna thrust the do you want to go see a Star Wars with me? What have you, whatnot, right? I wasn't gonna make him go see it opening night. Not even opening night, but the opening preview night, the Thursday before. I don't know what his schedule is. I don't want to be that person that is, forcing their friends to go see a Star Wars. I know he's not the super biggest Star Wars fan on the planet, but that's just, how it is. Things of fate and destiny happen right in front of your very eyes, ladies and gentlemen. And this was one of those instances. I ran across my buddy. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm just actually gonna go get tickets for Rogue One right now." He said, "You get me one for that day. I want to go see it with you." I said, "Absolutely, my friend. I will get you a ticket too." So that was my directive. I went up to down to. I drove to the cinema then, and I started getting my ticket. Right, I walked right up to that box office and I said, "I will take 2 tickets for the IMAX 3D showing of Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, Thursday, 7 o'clock p.m." And the lady's like, "Great, here are the available seats." And there are only 2 seats left. Oh, wow, that paid off tremendously. First off, that I went there at that exact same time. They were, of course, in the last row. They're not typically the most appropriate seat, not the best seat in the house for it, but I just wanted to be in that room. I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be with everybody watching this movie for the first time. There's almost really nothing to compare to seeing a Star Wars film in a large theater for the first time with a bunch of like-minded Star Wars fans. It is just the best. It's the best experience ever imaginable. Um, so I was like, "Oh, I will get those tickets." I had to snag those up. I texted Dan. I was like, "Oh, good thing this timing all worked out right and proper. We got our tickets. We're set to go. Don't worry about it." I then went back to my dorm room, and the fun thing I like doing, especially one of my fondest memories for this, is I put the tickets right within the sleeve of my DVD copy of my 2004 special edition release of A New Hope. Something that I've always cherished my entire life is that version of the movie and that copy of it. It's the film I watched the most with my uncle. Um, so, at least in terms of DVD format, we watched Attack of the Clones more together. But that's just a fun physical representation of that journey that he and I had growing up, and now that as I was beyond my looking at the twin sons moment in my life, and I've made some choices up to that point, and just see that growth that I made personally, which is nice to have that tie in there. Just to keep the tickets safe too. I didn't want anyone coming in and snagging my tickets, even though I'm very sure that would not happen. You know, I I wasn't taking any chances. I wasn't taking any chances. So that was leading up to. I think we're about 2 weeks out from the show at this point. But something I never thought about when I got the tickets was that was the week of finals too. So that's gonna come in later at a certain point. But I didn't really think through that finals will be that week. So I was like, oh, I hope that I don't have a final that evening or a final that coincides with that time that I would be heading to the film. Although we had assigned seating, I love getting to the theater ahead of time and just being in that environment. I really like that IMAX Regal that is there in Frederick. Yeah, I believe it's the Promenade. Uh, it's a wonderful movie theater, and then I just love being in that ambiance, smelling the popcorn and whatnot. It's just fun to be around. So I was like, I hope I can get there. I hope my final doesn't last till like 8 o'clock or something like that, or one of those obscure ones. But I think in hindsight, it all worked out in the end. I got through all my finals. Being a history person, I mostly just don't even have to take tests. I just have to write final papers. Of course, I have my internships, so I didn't have anything on that front. And leading up to the film, I got to watch the red carpet. The red carpet premiere was that week. And then I went completely dark on social media because I don't want to hear any spoilers or potential be ruined to the film. So, unfortunately, I did have a final that day. I did have a final that day. That was my African American history class. A wonderful class, wonderful professor, and it was just it was a great class. But I was like, this is you have to do well in this final, Anthony. You will never forgive yourself if you don't do well in this final, and then go see that movie, and then your guilty conscience will set in. Um, so I did my best on that final. Of course, I got 100 on it, but it was like the timing of it played out that it was like 5:45 or so when I finished it. And I always love leaving for the movie like an hour early, especially for these types of films. And you never know how traffic is and all that stuff. So the big takeaway that I had when I got stuck in traffic heading to this movie was, well, also, I think I missed the beat here on that one. Uh, not only was it my final, but this was my final. This was my last final for college ever. Of course, I'm in grad school now, but for my undergrad degree, this was the last thing. I graduated after I took this final, basically. So I was done with college, at least with my undergrad career. I was done. This was it. I turned in that blue book. I was finished. And the really neat, interesting thing is when I'm driving to the cinema to Regal IMAX and I got stuck in traffic, the first thing that went through my mind, for better or worse, was I hope I don't get into an accident or just have like a major traumatic thing, or just if I were to perish on this ride, I wouldn't get to see a Star Wars. That was the first thought that was popping in my head. It's like, you be the safest you can possibly drive right now. Not, you know, I just finished college. I have things to live for and all that stuff. It was, don't crash. You don't miss a Star Wars, right? That was. I love that memory personally. It just goes to show you how excited that you can be for something that can seem so minuscule, just like a film, but it kept me going through that last year. It wasn't necessarily the easiest year. Senior year of college can be quite a daunting task sometimes, but just knowing that eventually at the end of the tunnel I was going to see a Star Wars, and it was a motivating factor for me. It was a lot. It was a lot, and I really enjoy. We'll eventually get into my thoughts on the movie itself. I love it. I am massively obsessed with it. It's a wonderful bits for the Star Wars universe and the canon, what have you. I would eventually go on to see it 3 times in the theater, as is my custom for Star Wars. So I have so much positive things to say about this film, and I, of course, going through this journey again with you all, I have just so many positive memories leading up to this film. And it's fun to look back on it, celebrate this 5-year release of this wonderful movie. And I hope you all had similar journeys too, and I would love to hear about them. So if you can, let me know via social media. Again, we are available on Twitter, Facebook, and now Instagram. So please give us a shout out on all those. I would love to hear what you did, what your journey to Rogue One was. I would love to hear it. So if you that is all I had for this episode. Yeah, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe, do all that stuff. We're available basically anywhere you can imagine: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. I think this is Spotify, but if not Spotify, we're available there. And if not, let us know. We'll do our best to get on that podcasting site. So that is all I had for this week. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode of Force Ghost Conversations. I hope you all have a wonderful week. May the Force be with you. Take care, everyone.